Dude, are you sure about this? I feel like I look ridiculous. I mean...
You look great. Come on, don't you trust me?
I have no real reason to trust you. It's not like you've done anything successful recently, but I am pretty talented. I bet I could probably pull it off. Let's get into this. I believe in me. Okay. I'm not dead! Hello, my hungry film fans, and welcome to the Chompt Down. Now featuring infinite more green screen. I wasn't really sure what to wear. I figured I'd just stick with the color scheme I got going on right now. But welcome to my Chompt Down of M. Night Shyamalan's newest movie, Split. It might be the only movie that's came out in January worth seeing so far. Everything's pretty much been dog shit. In between the choices you have of new movies this weekend, let's go with Split. Found this in my bathroom today. I have no clue why I have XXX on DVD, but there's a reason why I found it in the bathroom. And I'm not saying Split is good exactly. I was told Split would be good. M. Night Shyamalan is one of the most interesting directors around right now because of his absolute roller coaster of a career. And by roller coaster, I mean like that one water slide that goes straight down to the bottom. For those of you who aren't quite familiar with the guy, M. Night directed The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, two movies that people were fascinated with. Everyone thought that he was going to be the next Spielberg. Everyone loved him for the crazy twists he would put in the end of his movies. The Sixth Sense was kind of ruined for me because everyone loves to spoil that movie. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, you're never going to get to see it without the twist being ruined. Everyone has ruined that movie. And I think The Sixth Sense is really overrated, but Unbreakable is really great. And that was when this guy's climbing, right? He's climbing to the top of his coaster. But once he followed those up with Signs, Lady in the Water, and The Village, well, people were getting pretty tired of M. Night Shyamalan. They were getting pretty tired of his twists. They were getting tired of him constantly inserting himself into his movies.
And if vilifying the critic in the movie wasn't bad enough, M. Night casts himself as the chosen one, a writer whose works will change the world even though it is not yet understood in his present time.
But once we got The Happening and The Last Airbender, two of the worst movies ever made. Ever made. Like, The Last Airbender is borderline unwatchable.
It's time for you to stop doing this! Leave him alone!
He became a director. People laughed at the thought of seeing his movies to the point where when he made a movie with Willow and Jaden Smith, Will Smith, my real father, which he's never gonna come clean about, and that's fine, they barely even put his name on the movie because no one wanted anything to do with the guy. After Earth was such garbage. And then he made The Visit, which everyone seemed to think was great. I didn't. Anyone who really had their head on their shoulders didn't. But everyone was like, oh, it's finally, he's come back. He's coming back to form. He's M. Night again, guys. He's M. Night again. But even those who agreed with me and didn't say that for The Visit are starting to say that about Split. He's M. Night again, guys. And I just don't see why. But was Split good? No, it wasn't. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad, but it certainly wasn't good either. There were many aspects of Split that I liked a lot. The cinematography was really good. Every shot seemed to really take care, which really went appreciated. And while some of the acting really took me out of some scenes, for some reason all the side actors tend to be bad in Shyamalan movies. Some of the acting was great, phenomenal even. James McAvoy was just incredible. He was working on another level than every other actor in this movie. Anya Taylor-Joy was really great too, and I really liked some things about her character that we'll get into, but James McAvoy stole the show. He had 23 or so different personalities in his brain that were all fighting for the spotlight, and the way he portrayed it was incredible. Sometimes it got a little Green Goblin from Spider-Man,
The city, Spider-Man!
and other times it got a little Gollum-like.
Precious personality.
But some shots, one in a mirror in particular, was just incredible.
Thanks to you.
Avenge me! No!
Really well done. And the old lady that's in this movie, she's the therapist of James McAvoy. I feel like I've seen her before, maybe in some crazy, over-the-top fever dream of a character.
Planning on stealing something?
No, ma'am, we're not.
Plan on murdering me in my sleep?
What? No.
I don't remember. She was surprisingly really good. And the other thing I liked about this movie is that Shyamalan really has figured out that people want him to restrain himself a little bit. He's really restraining himself with his budget. He's keeping his stories more packed. This movie mostly took place in one area where these three girls were kidnapped by James McAvoy's character. It just didn't go the distance it should have. Because of his reputation, people are going to be walking into this movie expecting a big twist. And while this movie does take some turns, I'm not going to get into any spoilers, it doesn't ever twist the way that people are hoping it will. A lot of M. Night's movies have twisted until they broke, so I'm pretty grateful that it didn't do that. But this movie was just held back too much. Even though it had such a crazy main character, this movie didn't ever get crazy enough for me. I didn't leave the theater feeling full, and I don't think anyone else that saw it with me did either. I feel like a big majority of the crowd that are going to see this movie are younger teens just because of the way that it was branded, and they're not really gonna appreciate the payoff at the end that other people who have followed M. Night's films for so long will. If you're into some of his earlier films, there are some homages in this movie that are going to get you pretty excited, to say the least. But this movie was just a little bit bizarre, enough to set up some really cool shots. Wink wink. I got him! But it just never pushed it far enough to the fact where I felt like it was worth seeing in theater. In fact, if anyone in your crowd is even the slightest bit mature and you get a laugh track during this movie when McAvoy's trying to pull off some really risky parts, it might ruin the movie for you. Because McAvoy really puts himself out on a limb here. This guy is cross-dressing, getting undressed, playing as a 9-year-old child, really pushing his acting for a guy who hasn't proven himself in a long time, and that's just brave, to say the least. And man, does he pull it off, I think. That combined with the fact that it's in such a claustrophobic area for most of the movie is why I think this movie might be better to enjoy at your own house. But if you think you might enjoy this movie, the premise of it anyways, it might be worth going to see. I wish they got into his mind a little bit more, because I thought that was when things got really interesting, when they were talking about how the personalities interacted with each other. Really cool stuff.
Dr. Fletcher, it's Barry.
It doesn't seem like Barry. Barry is an extroverted leader.
Yes, I am.
I really like the storytelling that went into the backstory of Casey Cook. She played it off so good, and there were certain moments at the beginning that seem really weird, but they really become apparent to why she is the way she is. Her and McAvoy really do save this movie. McAvoy absolutely stealing the show. For those two, and just the fact that Shyamalan is restraining himself, I have to commend this movie a little bit. But like I said, it never pushed itself as far as I was hoping it would, and the restraint kind of ruined this movie. Well, that's all I've really got to say on Split, just in case you haven't seen it, and I've given up on ratings altogether. My review was my rating. Let's just go with that from now on. But if you have seen it, let me know what you think down below. If you haven't, be careful of spoilers down there, but I'd like to know what you thought. If you haven't seen it yet, let me know what you're thinking before you go into the theater versus what you think after. That'd be really interesting. Give me a like if you like this video, and subscribe for more content coming very soon. I'm thinking about putting up a 2016 video, but my Gremlins review, that just took a lot of steam out of me after I put that one up. So if you want to check out that review too, I will put a link to it somewhere on this screen. But if you're this far in, thank you so much for watching, and I love you for putting the time in. Thank you again, and I hope to chomp down again with you soon.